The Valley's news talk and podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix, a Central City radio station.
It's time for the Chips N Salsa Show.
The only show about Latinos for Latinos. And did we mention Latinos?
It's the Latísima.
Latinos come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy Chips N Salsa.
Everybody loves Chips N Salsa.
Guess what? It's time for another edition of the Chips N Salsa Show Tuesday. I'm Alice Lara here with my radio partner in crime,
Don Jorge Alacran.
Scorpion King. We are so happy to be here. It's Christmas time. You know what? Maybe come back with a Christmas bumper like Feliz Navidad or something like that. It's good. We have a great show for you. We are so pleased to have Bob Lettieri here today. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me here.
We're going to talk to him in just a few minutes after we do some housekeeping. He is the current treasurer for the Arizona GOP, so that's the state Republican Party. And what he's going to be doing next month, George and I are going to go and get to vote.
Yes.
And he's going to run for the AZGOP chairman. So you really, if you have any interest at all, you need to listen to the show. Even if you're listening from another state, you know why you still need to listen? Because we're going to talk politics. And Maricopa County, we are like one of the largest counties in the whole United States. So, and in fact, I heard today, George, I heard that the two top cities that people are moving to in the United States, number one is Austin, Texas. Number two is, guess what? Phoenix, the Phoenix area. So please don't think that, oh, it's Arizona, he's right. No, listen, because there'll be stuff. Maybe you have a question, go to Facebook. It's all good. And speaking of Facebook, we are live streaming Facebook. So you'll find us. We're Central City Radio here broadcasting on the Talk Central Phoenix. You can also find us on Chips N Salsa Show, our Facebook page, too. Plus, we're not doing the YouTube today, George, right? But
well, I think he's
for our Chips N Salsa YouTube.
No, we just transfer that when it's when we have it. Then we transfer it.
Then we'll transfer it. But on Thursday, we just put a little plug in. We do a totally different show. We take a big break from politics, and this is a brand new deal.
Non-political, people.
Non-political. So if you tune in on Thursday, like I'm not going to talk politics because we're taking a break, and it's called La Voz de la Comunidad, or the Voice of the Community.
La Voz de la Comunidad.
Or for our English friends, La Voz de la Comunidad. Yeah.
The Voice of the Community.
Right. And it's with a couple of new friends that we've made. Martha and Christina, they're realtors and a loan officer, and they have a special outreach to the Latino community. So we hope that you'll tune in, and that happens on Thursdays at 4 o'clock as well.
Yeah.
And we're broadcasting that live from what used to be the Latinos for Trump Center. Now it's a community center, 24th Street and Baseline.
I think it's a Latino.
Is it called the Latino Community Center?
Yeah, the sign now says Latino Community Center.
Oh, okay, great. And
So,
Jamie Villegas is still running that?
Yes,
so
she's still running that.
get more information.
And it's, we're going to make the Latinos' dream of home ownership actually come to fruition. And that's what we've teamed up with these people.
And you don't have to be Latino either.
Yeah, you can be a minority, or you can be a person that just is having a hard time purchasing a house or your dream, and they're going to make it happen. They have government programs and stuff that they're going to be available to get.
Excellent.
It's making people's dreams of being American, come true. Because everybody that comes to this country wants that American dream, wants home ownership, wants to be. You don't want to be renting all your life.
So tune in on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Right on. Okay, some announcements. I want to wish a happy birthday to my nephew-in-law, Charlie Powell, Krav Maga King. And happy birthday, Charlie. We hope you have a wonderful and nice one. Also, his mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, had a birthday on the 13th. And that was, she doesn't like to call herself Yolanda. That's her name. So she goes by Yoli. Happy birthday, Yoli. You got any birthdays coming up?
No.
None at all? Do you know somebody else's birthday's coming up next week?
Who?
I'm going to let you guess on that one. My birthday's coming up next week.
Oh.
But that's not till next week, so I'll remind you about that one later. All right. Oh, also, our good friend, Hilda Villaverde, if you remember, she's an author. She's a business owner, salon owner out of Scottsdale, a wonderful Latina Republican, and an Arizona native.
Fantastic lady.
Yeah, and she has her book. I got this on the email today. Hilda Villaverde and her son Ron. Do you say it Fusselman or Fuselman? Do you know, George?
Russellman.
No, it's with an F.
Fosselman.
You think it's Fusselman?
Fosselman.
Anyway, it's Fusselman. They are proud to announce the release of their second collaboration, Dear Son, Dear Mom, Lessons I Learned from Somebody, Uncomfortable Tales from a Son and His Mother Raising Each Other. So this is a great book. I know, George, have you gotten to read it yet? She gave us the book when she was here.
I started to.
Mm-hmm.
I just been doing a lot of things.
And she has a fantastic story of growing up here. And we're going to have her. In fact, I just booked her. She's going to come back in January and talk to us.
January
the 26th.
The 26th of January.
So she'll be back.
And if you remember, she's a fantastic guest. She has a fantastic story. She's a very she talks from
She's a
her
good
heart.
writer. She's a very good writer.
10 books, I think so. Or this
Yeah.
might be her 11th.
And she also does hair. She complimented George about his beautiful hair.
Yeah.
And you can go, if you want to find her, she's at Pluma Designs, Pluma, Pluma Designs, and that's 7000 East Shea Boulevard in Scottsdale. So we just want to tell you a little bit about that and give you a hint. And then, locally, I live in the South Mountain, South Phoenix area, and my councilman is Carlos Garcia. I'd like to have another councilman. Sorry. I'd like to have a good conservative Republican in there. But he is going to have a virtual meeting. So if you want to check into it, if you live in District 8, that's going to be on Thursday. I'm hopefully going to be doing that at 6 o'clock, and you can do a Zoom meeting. So go on the City of Phoenix website and find out about that if you'd like. Even if you're not in that particular district, there's still some information you can find. All righty. What else is going on, George? Anything else before we start talking about?
I'm going to be leaving here early because I have a LD meeting where I'm going to get sworn in. Our new chairman is going to get sworn in.
Who's your new chairman?
Shelby. That's what I said. Shelby.
Shelby.
She's fantastic. She's fantastic. They're working on a convention site as we speak. They're looking at different sites, and that's going to come up in the near future, so everybody will know. The committee that she's in is looking at different sites. But our new chairman, they've taken over different LDs, are fantastic by what I see already. The county is going to have a great representation with some of these new chairmen that have just been elected. And Shelby is one, and we're going to swear her in today. I'll be sworn in as the first vice chair, and Steve will be sworn in as the second vice chair.
Steve Palmer?
No, Steve.
Steve Robinson?
Steve Robinson.
Awesome. And Steve Robinson and Shelby, they were actually co-campaign managers of the Josh Barnett campaign. And Josh Barnett ran for Congress in my district. He did not win, but he was a great candidate, and I got to know a little bit more of Steve and Shelby.
They're the legal team for the Trump legal
right
team, for the elections, and they went to Washington and they met with Giuliani and all the legal team.
So we should have her on sometime, maybe later, and she can talk all about that. Yeah,
she has a lot to talk about.
Great. All right. Well, we're going to start. I think we have maybe a couple minutes left, and we're going to start off our interview with Bob. And unless you got anything else.
No,
did we cover everything? Get all our housekeeping out of the way so we can just
it.
Focus totally on our guest. Ta-da! Got a couple of minutes left, do we, Mr. Julian? Do we have a couple minutes left? Do we have a couple of minutes left? Probably. Yeah, he's looking at the clock. Oh, okay. Oh, got 1 minute left. Okay. All right, real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk to Bob Lettieri. He's running for AZGOP chairman, and he's going to tell us all about himself. And give me 30 seconds on why you're running.
Well, I'm running because I want to strengthen the Republican Party, as we call it, the AZGOP's presence in politics in Arizona. I don't think that we've made a very strong presence in Arizona politics. Candidates run on their own. Regional candidates run, state candidates run, but nothing really comes together at the AZGOP, and I'd like to see them more of a focal point of what happens in politics in Arizona.
Well, that's a great answer, and that gets me kind of excited as a Republican. Okay, so please don't go away. If you've got other people that you know might be interested in this program, let them know. Share it on your Facebook. Call them, text them, tell them. And we'll be right back. I'm Alice Lara with
Don Jorge.
And we have our guest, Bob Lettieri, running for AZGOP chairman. Don't go away because we got to guac on some more in this political world. On the Chips and Salsa Show.
The Valley's home for podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix. Get the app on iTunes or Google Play.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting's hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F. Face drooping. A. Arm weakness. S. Speech difficulty. T. Time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Dudes and dudettes need to chill out. Unleash the power of nature with handcrafted hemp extract. Quality you can feel, with passion for the planet. Get your herbal relief today at emeraldsunfarms.com.
When you hear the Kevin Jackson Show,
you're hearing that they've mislabeled many of the so-called deaths. 10,000 people have died. But you know what they're also telling you? Overestimated the number of deaths.
then you are home. The Valley's News Talk and Podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix.
And now back for more Chips N Salsa.
Well, sir, while I may not agree with what you say, I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
And we are back for another segment of the Chips N Salsa Show. We're so excited to be here. Thank you, chipsters, for tuning in. Chipsterinos. I'm Alice Lara here on this Tuesday edition of the Chips N Salsa Show with
Don Jorge,
the Alacran. Very good. And we are thrilled to have with us today a wonderful political guest, and that's Bob Lettieri. Am I saying your name right, Lettieri?
Perfect.
Okay. Did you say it's Italian?
Yes.
How would you say it in Italian? Do you know?
Lettieri.
Lettieri. Oh, Italian's so beautiful and very close to Spanish as well. So you told us a little bit about why you're running, but let's get the audience to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in Arizona, and your family, and what you did most of your life, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, I came here in 1979. I was working with Deloitte, and big company at the time was Revlon. They recruited me out. They had a huge facility over at 43rd Avenue in Buckeye and asked me to take a look at it. Needed what they called an operations controller. So I accepted the transfer, even though I was only with Revlon a couple of months before they offered me that position.
Wow.
Came out here, and the fellow that ran the facility was on the Board of Regents, and the Dean of Business School was visiting him, and he talked me into getting an MBA from Arizona State. I said, but I already have an advanced degree from NYU in economics and undergrad in accounting. He said, everybody's looking for an MBA these days, so I'm going to get you into the program and you won't need any prerequisites. I said, so you mean I have to take the whole program? And he said, sorry, if you want an MBA from us, you've got to go the whole route. So I did, and it was a great experience. At the time, Tempe was a model college town from what I could see. I mean, I went to commuter schools growing up in Brooklyn, New York. Didn't really understand what campus life was like until I went to ASU, so it was a wonderful experience.
Oh, nice. And you stayed in Arizona.
Yes.
And made your home and family. You were telling me you have some grandkids, too?
I have 3 sons, 2 of which are military, and one, my oldest son, my namesake Robert, is out here, lives in Glendale, Arizona, and he's a substance abuse teacher. Number 2 son, Christopher, was the special medical liaison to the Joint Chiefs of Staff after spending most of his career at Walter Reed. He's currently at Johns Hopkins. And my youngest son is a tank commander. After several tours, he was not eligible for deployment anymore because of injuries, so he's now at Fort Benning as a tank commander trainer.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you know, a lot of us have been in politics a while. George and I have been doing this stuff. You've been doing this stuff. But there are quite a few Republicans and people in general don't really understand the function of a state chairman, the chairman of the party. We try to do as much education here as possible. You know, George and I are state committeemen. So what we'll be doing next month is we're going to get together at the state meeting. It's virtual or at a site or whatever they decide to do, and we'll be voting for our leadership, and we'll be voting. And at this present time, I don't know of any other candidates but you right now, Bob. But could you kind of explain to our audience what the chairman does and why they're vitally important to our party?
Well, I liken the chairman of the AZGOP to the CEO of a corporation. He's the head. The chairman is the head of the party, just like the CEO is the head of a corporation. And it's their job to make sure that the company is running right and that they have achievable objectives, have a mission, and they're pursuing that mission through all of the people that work in the corporation. And I view the AZGOP having to be run in a similar way. But let me emphasize that when I went to the RNC Finance College, they said the first job of the chairman was fundraising, the second job was fundraising, the third job was fundraising. So I kind of got the message that the job was fundraising.
Fundraising.
Yeah. Well, when I take a deep dive into fundraising, my approach to it was, I've got a business plan because I want to tell you what I'm going to do with your money. It's easy for me to send out blasts of emails asking to contribute, but there's not enough of, let's say, accountability to where your money is going. Now, I know in a presidential election like this, it's for the president. It's to get him elected. I understand that. But you don't have a presidential election every year. So in the non-presidential, or what we call the odd number years, not the even number years, when there's no major campaign going, it's going to be my job to convince donors where their money is going to go to. And where it's going to go to, it's going to build up the Republican Party so we can get Republicans elected at election time. Now, how are we going to do that? 2 ways. One, we need to increase the number of PCs statewide from where we are today at approximately 43% to about 65%. I'll tell you why those boots on the ground are essential. I canvassed and I knocked on 540 doors. And it was really interesting because Republicans were somewhat reluctant to talk to me, but Democrats would tell me everything.
Wow.
And of course that goes into what's called campaign sidekicks. That information goes into the national polling data. I didn't think it was accurate because Republicans weren't speaking, Democrats were. One Democrat that I knocked on the door, I said, so you're voting for Biden? He said, yes. So then I guess you believe in open borders. And she jumped down my throat. She told me there's a difference between opening borders and separating mothers and children and separating families and forcing hysterectomies. And I said, pardon me, but didn't Obama start that? So it was apparent that we do need more boots on the ground. We need more people knocking on doors to overcome the advantage the Democrats have in the air war. the false press is on their side. So we can overcome that with more boots on the ground. And I'm going to help every LD in recruiting and training. We need PCs that are activists. We need PCs that are willing to knock on doors, engage people in conversation, and tell them about the right party to become, the right candidate to vote for. We heard today that Phoenix and Maricopa County is one of the fastest growing counties in America. Well, we don't want the Californians to make our Arizona their California. We have an opportunity to talk to new residents of this state and get them to register for the right party, which is the Republican Party. So I'm going to emphasize working on voter registration. The more PCs we have, the more doors we can knock on. We probably need to get more involved in how to get information on people who are coming into the state, to greet them like Welcome Wagon used to, and greet them with a voter registration and talk to them about becoming Republicans. We need more Republican voters. We need more PCs to win the vital elections.
And I want to explain, just for those of you that are kind of new and watching our show for the first time or don't follow politics, when we talk about PCs, that's a precinct committeeman. And basically what that is for every I'm a precinct committeeman, so is George. In my precinct, which happens to be Ardmore, for every precinct has one committeeman, PC. And for every 125 registered Republicans, then you get another PC. So if I had 127 people in my precinct, you'd have 2 PCs, right? Okay. Because you have one to start with and then the additional ones up to 125. And they are like the basic grassroots. And you are so right in that. And what did you say that we have 45%?
About 43% of all available PC positions filled.
Wow. Do you know what the Democrats have by any chance?
No, I don't.
I wonder. I'm curious, but and you do need strong PCs. You need people that really want to be involved because it actually is an elected position. I want to ask you about this. I'm kind of stuck on this, but what they did is to save money. It used to be that when you ran for a precinct committeeman, your name would appear on the ballot. But in order to save money, they said, okay, you know what? There are 5 positions and only 3 people are running. We're not going to put your name on there. You're going to be elected anyway. So we're going to save money and not print your name on the ballot. I believe that was not good. I think that I would like to see, and I've talked to Stephen Richer about that, who's our newly elected Maricopa County Recorder. I would like to see those names on the ballot because people need to know who are their representatives. And we represent the Republican Party on the very basic level. What do you think about that, Bob?
Well, I know that there is at the recorder's office a list available of every elected PC. It's broken down by Democrat, Libertarian, and Republican.
So, well, I'm talking about when you go in to vote, when you're voting for the PC, to have that on the ballot so you can see who is running. Even though there might, there's 5 positions but only 3 people run, they don't even list you on the ballot unless there's more than the slots. Am I just beating a dead horse here?
No, I remember when they used to be, and the ballot was quite onerous. It was really, really long. But essentially, to become a PC, you have to get 10 signatures from your precinct, and your precinct is on your voter registration card. It's easy to get one of those nominating petitions, but you need 10 signatures from Republicans from your precinct.
In your precinct.
You submit them to the county recorder, Secretary of State, and you're on the ballot. Now, your name doesn't appear, but you're somehow...
Unless there are more people running than slots.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point. So I think it's important still, because even if you're running for state office, and there's 2 people in each district, right? Mm-hmm. But only one person's running. Your name still goes up there because you're running, okay? I use the wrong example. Senator, okay, there's only one person running. Your name always appears. It doesn't matter. The only time they eliminate not putting somebody's name is in the case of the precinct committeeman. So it's just something that I think it should be on there because then the local people will know your name.
Yep.
and maybe it would help us and advance a precinct committee position.
I'm not going to argue with you, but the way local people know your name is by you
getting out there,
getting those 10 signatures, and those 10 people tell another 10 people, and invite you into a neighborhood meeting is really the way you get to know people in your neighborhood. Then once you've established some contact with them, then you know you can go knock on the door because you know who they are.
So yours is basically saying, Alice, don't worry about it.
Well,
it's okay.
They're not really hotly contested elections, they're really not. So what I think is the greatest deficiency that I've seen is in these what they call bipartisan or nonpartisan elections. Of course they're partisan. I mean, we had a fella that won the election in Scottsdale for mayor who's a Democrat. But he wasn't on the ballot as a Democrat. So
because it's a nonpartisan.
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to have your party on their list.
I know, but how could that be a nonpartisan election? It can't be. You have a party that you represent. And he represented the Democratic Party, although he, I think, converted to independent, but he was a Democrat most of his life. So if you're a Republican and you believe in Republican values and you know what a Republican stands for, but you can't tell who this guy is, you'll probably wind up voting for the wrong person. So I think that's an enormous deficiency that needs to be addressed.
So you're saying on a nonpartisan still list how they're registered?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that's good. I think you have a right to know.
Yeah. Do you think the candidates are nonpartisan? Of course not. My point.
Not really. Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, and the great thing about you, Bob, you have been a treasurer. So one thing that I like in you as a candidate, you know the money situation. You've been there, done that. And we were talking earlier, we got 1 minute already. You've got into the bones of everything.
Yeah, he sees it when they're coming in. He says who's it from. So he knows who the donors or the contributors are.
Right.
So that's a good thing to be involved in,
But to give you some background.
We got about 30 seconds.
Okay, to give you some background. When I took over in January of 2017, the party had $23,000 in the treasury. And the party was in legal peril as defined by the General Counsel. At the end of my 2-year term, with a new administration coming in January of 2019, I turned over to the incoming administration over $500,000 in the Treasury and a party free of any legal peril or FEC restrictions.
You just made a really great campaign commercial right there. That was awesome. All right, we got to go and take another break, pay some bills. I'm Alice Slaughter with
Don Jorge.
We'll be right back with our guest, Bob Lettieri, running for ACGOP chairman. Don't go away because we got more to walk on about.
Yep.
This is the Valley's News Talk and Podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix, a Central City radio station.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Dudes and dudettes, need to chill out? Unleash the power of nature with handcrafted hemp extract. Quality you can feel with passion for the planet. Get your herbal relief today at emeraldsunfarms.com.
When you hear the Angie Austin and Michael Pelka Show.
People I know who have their seedlings started for the vegetable garden.
Yeah, me too.
If you can't grow your own food, that seems to be a little bit intrusive.
Then you are home. The Valley's News Talk and Podcast. Talk Central Phoenix.
Like, okay, so I'm really confused because, like, my dad's Latino and my mom is white, so does that mean I can only listen to, like, half of Chips N Salsa?
That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
We are back. The show must be going pretty well because it's going fast. That's how I judge it. You're watching the Chips N Salsa Show. We're here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. Please tell your friends about us. We keep growing. We're into our 7th year already. And the reason we exist, Alice Lara with Don Jorge. I got you by surprise. But the reason we started the show is because we saw the need to bust the myth that just because you're brown doesn't mean you're a Democrat. George and I are former Democrats. Not anymore. We are conservative Republicans, unashamed of it, and unapologetic Republicans, conservatives. We're here today. We have a wonderful guest. We have Bob Lettieri. He is the current Arizona Republican state treasurer. So he knows about the money.
4 years.
4 years. Wow. Okay. And he is running for the AZGOP chairman, and we're going to have that election next month in January. So we've talked a little bit about his background. He's been in Arizona since 1979, so he kind of knows Arizona. He knows politics. He's been there. I'm going to throw it at you. What is something that people don't think hard enough about in your position that maybe they're like, really, I wish the chairman would focus on that. You touched on that a little bit, but what is something else that people just don't think hard enough about that position?
Well, from a business perspective, a management of a business, a lot of the people that are working at the AZGOP are really focused on politics, which they should be, but you still have to run a business. You still have to keep accurate records or you get in trouble with the FEC. There needs to be a greater awareness that we do have a business to run. We need it to be organized. We need records to be kept cleanly. We need files to be dependably accurate. We need to be able to conduct an audit in a professional and reasonable amount of time. We do get a lot of turnover of staff because it's not a career job. Right. So more training to what job you're responsible for and hold them more accountable. People at the top, I found, not in the 14 and 16 administration where we had an awful lot of FEC issues, just weren't paying attention to details. Very often they would get a request for additional information that was not responded to. Who's holding them responsible for doing their job seemed to be something that was missing. If the boss is not attentive to it, the employees are not attentive to it. If it's not important to the boss, it's not important to the employees. So there needs to be an awareness from the top that we have a business to run. Yes, the end result is to win elections, but we still have to have an organization that functions like a good business.
I mean, the idea, I like how you put it because it's the CEO, and you're kind of directing the whole organization. And typically, from as long as I've been in politics, you have your chairman, and then you hire an executive director to kind of run things. Yes. and different offices. Is there anything different that you're going to do from past administrations should you get elected?
Yes. When I announced my running for the position, my plan was published in Frosty's Briefs in the first week in September. And it really laid out the detail of what I wanted to do going forward if elected. And one of the things that I insisted on was reworking the bylaws to accommodate the executive committee, which consists of 107 members, 23 of which can't vote, but the rest of them can. And they vote on one thing, the budget. As I went around to the LDs to make my presentation and counties, many of the people on the executive committee said there's nothing for me to do. It's boring. That's why I don't come to those meetings. Now, here you have somebody who's elected. Well, he was elected because he must know what he's doing or he wouldn't have gotten elected. Why don't we utilize those people? So I want to create more committees. I want to take the bylaw we have in the bylaws, appointed chairs that never seem to get appointed, and just roll them into the executive committee. Make them heads of committees. Give them people that want to be involved in that committee to work with them. Set goals and objectives. Meet monthly. Get feedback on how we're doing, whether it be voter registration or increasing PCs or having a greater voice into who gets elected at the primary level. Those are the things that I want to change. Now, I will tell you this, that since my plan went out and since I've been articulating that at over 20 meetings, all of a sudden I hear people speaking about that. Now, the same people were people that could have done something bylaws-wise a year ago or 2 years ago. So I'm happy that it's resonating up, because I think it's such a waste of talent not to utilize the executive committee to run chairs, be a selected chairman of committees, budget committee,
and then
finance committee.
you can appoint them. You appoint them as chair. How does that work?
I would rather have them in the bylaws where...
Oh, I see.
Right, that it's somebody out of the executive committee, and I think that the way it works best is somebody who has an aptitude and interest to be the IT chairman, to be the education chairman.
That's what I'm asking. So, like, if George and I were part of the exec committee, and they say,
well,
okay, you guys run the radio committee.
We could do that. You could do that now, but those they're appointed chairs, but they never seem to get appointed. So I want to make it part of the bylaws that you have to have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right now, you don't have to have those committees.
Well, the bylaws say that we have these appointed chairs, but they never seem to get appointed.
I see what you're saying.
Right. So if we make it part of the bylaws and make it a requirement that we have those chairs, we might get something done.
And then, do you guys have to meet a certain amount of time, number of times during the year? How does that work?
The Jorge has this book handy, and right in here it says that we should meet about 4 times a year. But with COVID, we weren't able to do that.
Sure.
But what we had, and we tried to have monthly Zoom type of meetings, and they didn't happen every month, but that was the goal.
Good deal. George, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Are you going to be, during your campaign, are you going to be going to all the LDs? Are you going to try to visit all the LDs? I know it's a daunting task because there are LDs outside of the Maricopa
30
County.
LDs.
No, but there's some outside of the Maricopa County, because he'll have to go to the outside LDs also.
Yeah.
In the county. Well, no, they have their own chairman and those some of the other.
Sure there are. I mean, I've in Pima County, I've been to several LDs. In Pinal County, I've been to several LDs plus the county meeting.
Right.
Yavapai, I've been there also. So I've been certainly way out of Maricopa County. I've covered the entire state. Now, will I get to all 30? Well, here's part of the problem. I have an email list of every LD chairman and county chairman. I've emailed every one of them and asked to speak at a meeting where they can fit me in. And I started that in September. And I didn't hear from several of them. I had a couple of people that are helping me actually, so I wouldn't become an annoyance. They reached out to them also. Mm-hmm. And still, several of them never responded. But many have, and I've been to many LDs in counties and Republican clubs.
And you are coming to our LD 27 next month.
Right, on the 12th. On that day, I'll be 2 places. I'll be at the Women's Republican Club of Yavapai in the morning, and in the evening, I'll be at your LD.
Well, thank you. That's going to be a nice road trip for you.
Yes, it will be.
Good, great. And, you know, we can give you a little bit of slack. It's the COVID times, whatever, but still, this is a very important thing to elect our chairman. I mean, I know George and I take this very seriously. You know, we want the best chairman possible. I mean, just look at this last year. Our own chairman, Kelly Ward, with everything, Dr. Kelly Ward, that has been going on, she's been front and center because of all the stuff going on with the election. So you need a strong person in there they can do, because not only we talked about fundraising, we talked about being a CEO, but you're representing the entire state Republican Party. So, you really want a good person in there. You really do.
And it's in a non-paid position.
Yeah, and people forget about that. Bob and I were just talking about that. When you tell somebody you don't get paid for it, they almost don't believe that. There's so much work.
I know.
As I mentioned, when I first became the treasurer and we were faced with all of those FEC issues, had I not been a C-level employee of a company that I have an equity interest in, I probably wouldn't have had the leverage to leave the office and work on the AZGOP issues. So it was a daunting time commitment, and whoever gets elected to treasurer or chairman has to have the time to devote to that. Now, right now, I'm going to devote full time if I become the chairman. I'm in a position where I don't need a paycheck any longer. We had a very, very successful exit. I think that people in the business world probably know what that means. So I will be able to...
Thank you for your retirement planning, Bob.
Yes, to work full-time.
So you work for Revlon, but...
that was a long time ago. Revlon was a long time ago.
Yeah, what other companies...
Well, the past 23 years, I've been CFO of tech companies here in the Valley. Patchlink, Applied Photonics, and CellTrust. Took 23 years of my life, and I've raised over $100 million in what we call the capital markets. That's where I go to what's called a roadshow, and I ask high net worth investors, brokers who represent clients, to invest in a startup company, maybe a mature startup company, but it's a high risk deal. A lot of young people who are techies come up with this great new app that goes on your phone or goes on your computer and can do wonderful things. But the people listening to the pitch know that these are young people, unproven product, maybe in a big market, so they trust the CFO to deploy their capital when it will go into product development and market expansion. Now, when I look at fundraising as the chairman, it's a different ask. When you ask for money for the Republican Party or any party, you don't even get a tax write-off. When I was asking investors to invest in these tech companies, they got stock, they got equity in a company that could have an enormous return on if the management team could execute. Same thing at the AZGOP. If we take your money, the management team has to execute. It has to win elections. It has to have a plan.
That's your investment.
Yes.
Try to do that. Oh my goodness. We haven't even hardly talked some hard politics here, but I would like to do some of that, especially the situation we're facing. We have 1 minute, so when we come back in our last segment, we'll take up some national politics, maybe some local politics as well, and how the elections came up. So, we're very interested to know what you think about that. So we have one more segment left. I want to invite our chipsters out there. Please stay tuned. And if you've missed any part of the show, you can always come back. You can download, you're talking about apps, the Central City Radio app for free and listen to this podcast and take it with you wherever you go. So like if you're driving, you're commuting from work, that's okay. You can just click on the app and listen to us while you're on your drive home. But don't go away. We'll be right back for our last segment of the Chips N Salsa Show here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. I'm Alice Lotto with
Don Jorge.
And our wonderful guest, Bob Lettieri, running for AZGOP chairman. So don't go away. We got to guac on some more.
The Valley's home for podcasts. Talk Central Phoenix. Get the app on iTunes or Google Play.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting's hard to do in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, S, speech difficulty, T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When you hear In the Booth with Jim Bunner,
basically, it just seems as if no matter what Donald Trump does, he tries to tout a potential vaccine for this terrible disease, you just can't do anything right.
then you are home. The Valley's News Talk and Podcast. Talk Central Phoenix.
It's time for the Chips N Salsa Show. Vámonos.
I love Chips N Salsa. Can I listen too?
You got it. Take it away. Yes, sir.
And we are back with the Chips N Salsa Show. My goodness, George, it's our last segment.
Time is flying.
Oh my good! I want to thank all you chipsters out there. You know, and I really want to. We want to take a second here because we are on our 7th year of the Chips N Salsa Show, and they said it wouldn't last, and here we still are on Central City Radio, and we're thrilled to be here.
And we're constantly growing, and you're going to see a lot of changes in us this coming year, and the Chips N Salsa Show is expanding,
And you know what? George has been working hard, and if we do, like for example, if we do happen to not have to do a Zoom and do an actual meeting at a site, we're going to try to take the Chips N Salsa Show there.
Yeah, and I'm doing, and everybody knows I work for the Cardinals, so I'm always busy.
Security.
They're canceling a lot of activities coming in next year, not until May. So I'll be able to do more stuff.
So we're going to see more of you. I know, because sometimes
with
all your job, we don't see enough of you. It's true. All right, well, we promise you we're going to come back, and we're going to talk to candidate for AZ Republican State Chair, Bob Lettieri. And we're going to talk some more politics. So Bob, do you want to talk national politics first or some local politics? Well, I guess we really probably should ask about, today was yesterday a special day. What do you think about all that? Give us a little summation, your take.
I've attended so many of the Trump rallies, and they were, in a nutshell, insane. Wild enthusiasm.
Loved them.
Yeah.
Loved them.
And can anybody tell me how often Biden visited Arizona?
Hardly ever.
Once that I know of.
Yeah.
And nobody showed up hardly.
Right. So how does he win Arizona?
Thank you.
I mean, how do you do that?
I know.
It kind of defies logic.
And also, Bob, like I always talk about in the air, I know George's too, the rally that I went to the one in Goodyear. The color, okay, multi-diversity, young people.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen such diversity in my life. Right. It was amazing. And they're sharp people that I talked to.
Enthusiastic people. People that just love just listening to him. They believe in everything. They're believing in everything he's talking about. I don't understand how we lost. I mean, I really don't. I don't
think you did.
Yeah, I would have to say that seems to be the consensus, and people have been fighting it. Now, I have worked at the polls, so I have my own little niche of where I insisted there was fraud, and that is you show up with absolutely no credentials at all, and you get a ballot, just like me. That ballot is put into a conditional provisional envelope.
Yes.
Now, the person has 5 days to show up to present credentials to allow his vote. Or people at the tabulation center have 5 days to find him somewhere, either in the motor vehicles department or somewhere, making him eligible to vote. When you're not, that vote obviously doesn't get counted. What I was asking for was an audit of the unvetted or unverified envelopes.
Yes.
And I made a lot of noise about that.
Good.
You might not think it's a big area, but I thought it was a big area because I worked the polls long enough to see the volume of non-provisionals or conditional provisional envelopes that were issued. The information is in the computer. Get the recorder to give you a download and you know how many were issued. How many were vetted or approved? Okay, now prove the physical existence or destruction of those envelopes that are not supposed to be open. So I got called from an attorney working for the party and said, Bob, what you're talking about is done on a random basis at 2 counties. And I said, that makes no sense at all. What if Maricopa County is not selected and we're suspect of the recorder because of the things he's done in the past? Well, I got the attention of whoever I could, a couple of state senators, and I believe it went nowhere. Maybe because they didn't think it would yield the results or the turnaround, but just think about it. If the president only lost by 10,000 votes, and in Maricopa County there were more than probably 10,000 provisionals issued, why not dig into that area? So
I'm glad you brought
I know.
that point.
So I had my own view on that, and
very easily there could have been 10,000 provisional votes.
Right.
Very easily.
There was a lot more at ASU. I'm a troubleshooter for the Maricopa County elections, so I had several polling places that I was in charge of. Right. At ASU, all the students were out of state, and they were all voting provisional. I know they counted a lot of those provisionals, but they weren't supposed to, and an audit of those of just ASU
that would be just ASU
would have revealed a lot, because the line was all the way to Starbucks the day that was the 2018 election.
So I think forever and ever and ever there's going to be a big question mark about the come out of the results of this election.
Yeah, the outcome. Absolutely. That's an excellent point. It really is. So let's go a little bit more local.
Well, also I had a comment about the Senate race. And I don't know how many of you remember the Addams family.
Oh, yeah, the Addams family.
Got it. Now, when I was looking at the debate between Senator McSally and the challenger, Mark Kelly, I swore I was looking at Uncle Fester. And I said to myself, the guy is owned by China. That's certainly important. But how could you vote for Uncle Fester? I mean, how could you stand looking at this guy? So
now every time I see him, that's what I'm going to think about Uncle Fester.
Right.
Do you remember Uncle Fester for the Addams family?
Yeah. Right. So that was that's another election that doesn't make sense to me. It's so well known that his company was funded with Chinese money. He has loyalty to China. I mean, everything you touch in this country is made in China. When are we going to reverse that? How can we reverse that with people like Kelly in office? So I think that was certainly a step in the wrong direction.
And that one, so he's going to finish off what was Senator McCain's term. And so we'll have another election, in 2 years?
or 2020. No,
2022.
2022. Because the presidential will be 2024. Yeah.
Right.
So in 2 years, we'll have another senatorial run for that office.
And I think that the state of Arizona, as far as congressional representation, the Democrats have us 5-4. But we came very close in two races, two areas that are traditionally Democrat. And our Republican candidates really had a good show, and maybe this is a portent of things to come in the future, that we're getting closer and closer in two of those congressional districts, and maybe next election we'll take it and turn the state around.
And we have some wonderful Republican congresspeople.
We have
who really
congressional redistricting too coming up.
That's right. That's going to come up as well. That's a great way to end our show. We're down to our last 30 seconds. Bob, thank you so much for coming in. We hope you'll come back again. Good luck to you. I'm Alice Lara.
With Don Jorge.
And we want to invite all you chipsters, please spread the word for our show, because it's going to be, we're going to be rocking and rolling Republican. We want you to do that.
Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. And watch your kids around the water.
So we'll be back next week, next Tuesday. The Chips N Salsa Show here on Central City Radio, Talk Central Phoenix. And remember, Bob Lettieri running for AZGOP chairman. And that's going to be in January if you're a precinct committeeman. Take care and guac on. Have a great week.
When you need to know, this is Talk Central, a Central City radio station.